questions. So this session is here now for you guys to ask any questions. We put this session together because one of the feedbacks that we had when we were asking for hot topics, what would people like us to talk about, this was the session. So please do put your questions in the chat. Well, I'll try and answer as many of them as we can. And if we don't get around to answering them all, we'll try and get back to you with a bit of a Q&A after. Okay. So I'm going to be running through the first session, and then we've got lovely Laura taking us through to the question section. So I'll start with myself. So hello, formal introductions. My name is Natalie Von Tusch, and I run Mint HS. I've been in safety for about 17 years now. I've been very lucky to work in a number of industries, all the way through from MOD, through to London Cycle Hire Scheme, hospital, facilities management, all the way up to motorway maintenance in Glasgow. I've kind of been here, there and everywhere, so I've got to see a lot of different industries. But I also get to see positives and the bits that can be shared between industry and the industry best practice. And then I've just started a health and safety consultancy business. In the last 12 months, we've established Mint HS. So I thought I'd just share with you some of our experiences through that. So welcome to Mint HS. So what is health and safety consultancy? What is that? What is the worth in it? What is the value? What is that as a career option? That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So when we look at health and safety consultancy, the key attribute and the key competence we've got to have is trustworthiness. If you are a health and safety consultant or you want to be a health and safety consultant or you're reviewing that as a career option, you have to be trustworthy on a number of aspects. One is trustworthy with data. You know, if you are going to multiple different companies and businesses, you'll be getting their inside secret scoops and all the way of how things do things. You have to keep that. You have to be trustworthy enough to keep that and not share that with other companies that you go to. You also need to be trustworthy in terms of getting out there in a business and coming back with the state of play, being able to go back to the senior leadership team and give them a trustworthy report of how things were. Not a, well, I said I'd keep that quiet because somebody asked me to. You have to have that trustworthy. I think most of us in this industry have that. If you're in a health and safety world, typically we're all here because we want to help, we want to do the right thing, and we are good, trustworthy people. But that is the foundation of anything to do with a safety consultant. On top of that foundation, there are lots of different ways to be a health and safety consultant. There is not one version of health and safety consultant, and that's what I wanted to cover you today. So a bit about me. As I say, I run a safety consultancy business. I am very lucky, very privileged to have got some wonderful clients. And the benefits of being a health and safety consultant is I get to go to some wonderful places. I get to go to a variety of different places. I might be spending one day in a waste site, looking after waste processing with heavy plant. I might be on a construction site, or I might be going around to one of our historic buildings to look after that, one of our cathedrals, or I might be working with a charity such as Age UK. It's a really wide sector when you're a health and safety consultant. The other part then is I am a mum. I'm a working mum. And that's one of my big main drivers for why I wanted to become a health and safety consultant. I wanted that flexibility of time so I can spend some time with my children. And also then, as you can see, they help me out with my training aids that I lug around sometimes. And they do quite like playing with those. So key positive being a health and safety consultant, you will get to go and see lots of different businesses. There is scope to go and learn, to challenge yourself, to understand different ways that companies work, and you'll get to see best practice and take it to another business. You'll also get to see the commonalities, how a process-driven framework for safety management can be applied to multiple industries. I have learned so much just in the last 12 months, and I will hope to continue learning. And that is one of the key things you have to be open to do. You have to be open to be in sink or swim. You're in the deep end, figure it out, find it out. And if you don't know, go and ask somebody that does. But you also have to know your competency limits because you will be asked to go into situations where you won't know the answer. And you need to be able to say, I don't know that. I'm not competent, but I know somebody who is. Let me refer you on to a good colleague of mine. So if you're looking at the consultancy world, there are lots and lots of benefits and there are lots of exciting things to do, but there are some barriers. So the biggest barrier is getting into business. We'd all love to be a safety consultant. That's the dream. I get paid a really good day rate, have flexible earnings, unlimited holiday throughout the year. Why are we not all doing this? Getting into business is key. And again, trustworthy. They need to look to you as a trusted pair of hands that they could help pass their business to. And they look for a business partner. But they've got to get to know you. And the market's a busy place, and there's lots of businesses out there. So how do you get into businesses? If you want to be a safety consultant, you're going to have to not be shy. You can be technically competent, absolute top of your game, pass multiple exams. But if you're not going to be able to phone somebody up and say, hey, would you like some business? Hey, I'd love to understand more about your business. Can you talk to me? Get out there and do networking. The clients won't come to you. They won't know you exist. So that I would say is the biggest barrier, the biggest challenge to being a safety consultancy, or if you're thinking about establishing your own business or setting up on your own, you're going to have to be comfortable with networking. Now, networking is a wonderful thing. I have met some fabulous, fabulous people networking, and it's wonderful to see who's working in your area in lots of different types of businesses, lots of different industries, might be doing the same role as you, might be doing something completely different, but they've all got wonderful, interesting stories to share. And it might not be the person that you're talking to, but it might be that they know a friend of a connection. And that is where you'll get that work coming through. So if you're looking to set up a safety consultancy business, you kind of have to allow a lot of time to do that networking, to get your voice out there, get your presence known within the market before the calls come through. Best place to start is go and ask somewhere you've worked before. So if you've been employed previously, or you were working in a company or an organization, an industry many years ago, you knew somebody of a friend, phone them. Let them know you're on the market. Let as many people as you know that you're on the market, and start there. Do you need anything? You know me already. We've worked together before. I'm a trusted pair of hands. That is the good place to start. And then from there, you can start building up your client base. Clients also tell clients. They tell great stories. So ask your existing clients, if you manage to get one customer, ask them, who else have you got? Do you think that might be interested in my services? Would you kindly recommend me for my services? These are all uncomfortable questions. And I'll be honest, I've had to go on a big learning curve. It's really uncomfortable to ask those questions, to ask for self-promotion. But if you're going on your own as a consultant, there's nobody else that's going to do that for you. So that is your biggest barrier, the biggest thing that you need to get comfortable. But equally, there's some real benefits if you can do it. And you get to meet some wonderful people. The other thing is running any SME, be it a safety or not, that's you in every department. I am the HR department. I'm the IT department. I'm the head of finance. I'm also the head of our marketing. I run the website. You will have to wear many and multiple hats, but great skills to learn. Really interesting. You'll find some wonderful people that will help you. I have been astounded about how many people will offer their time, advice, expertise for free with no prospects of any gain for them, but just people helping people because they know how hard it is to get going. So if you're going to be an SME, small, medium enterprise, you're going to need to just accept that you're going to have to wear those hats. Time management in your diary is key. We all do the classic, how much could you get for a day rate? Oh, okay, so times 254 working days in the year. Oh, how much could I be earning? You have to set aside time. Someone's got to run that website and update it and maintain it. Somebody's going to have to be running your emails. Someone's going to run the finances and the accounts. Somebody needs to be recording all the receipts that we get through, all of the events that we do, all of the calendar. You need that administrative time to do that. So in your mind, when you're thinking about how many days a year can I work for, you have to give yourself that time, that structure within the week to be able to wear all those multiple hats that you need to wear. But there is no one version of being a safety consultant. And that's the biggest learning curve I've had. So the bits we've been talking about is being a business owner. Set up a company, set your business up, start your business, run your business, aim to grow. And that growth includes recruiting others eventually. That is the difference between running a safety business. You are aiming to have employees who will come and work for you, and then they will help do the work and deliver the work. So you will take some of those hats off that you're wearing as an SME. The other option, though, which is still a consultant, is being a freelance consultant. Now, with this, there's none of the business pressure. And this is a really good option if you just want to try it. I did this. I started here, started freelancing before I ran the business. Go and see if you can find a project or a job and get that short-term contract, that short-term project in and do it as a freelance. No business, no website to run, no back office promotion. It's just you doing good old-fashioned health and safety consultancy work for somebody and you're freelance. The other option for this then as well is you work for other safety consultancy businesses. We are a very friendly bunch in the safety world. There is plenty of work to go round. We all pass work to each other. We all share. If I need to build a team up to deliver for a large contract, a large customer, or they've got specialist skills that I don't have, I can't be competent in everything, we utilize the freelancers. Come and get involved. I've got this project. Great. I'm sometimes then a freelance back for somebody else. So you could look at being a freelance consultant and just being available for others. You will still need to get yourself out there and do some work. LinkedIn is a wonderful tool. How we got work before LinkedIn, I'm not quite sure, but LinkedIn is a wonderful tool. So you can freelance via that. Contact other safety consultancies that you know exist already. Hey, I'm in the area. I'm a freelancer. Here's my qualification. Your day rate is not going to be as much, but hey, you haven't had to do the work. So freelance is definitely a really good option. You're still a safety consultant. The other option is you become an employed consultant. Go and work for one of those business owners, not on a freelance basis, not on a short-term contract, as an employee. There are lots of safety consultancy business owners who are recruiting for health and safety advisors, health and safety consultants, health and safety managers, and you are a full-time employee. Now, the downside of that is you are an employee. So your autonomy of time, you're going to be back to how many days holiday do you have a year? And ultimately, you go where they send you. But you still got all the benefits. You're going to be in different businesses every day. You're going to be getting to know different people. You're going to be learning skills. You'll be able to have a team around you can lean back on, learn, CPD, get a Christmas do. There are really good benefits of being an employed health and safety consultant. Now, if we talk about the investment, as I've learned, is a phrase that we use when we want to have an awkward conversation about money. So we call it an investment. So anything to do with cost, anything to do with money is an investment. Now, if you're looking at this seriously as a career, there are some big gains to be had. The day rate for safety consultants can be good, but it is varied. I know safety consultants who will range from anything from £275 a day all the way up to about £900 if you can push it a day. That is a massive bracket. What lends itself to how much you're getting is your worth, what you advertise yourself for, what skills and qualifications do you have that somebody else doesn't have, and what capability have you got. But equally, it's about what works out there and what you can get. So there is no fixed day rate. You won't find that. You'll struggle to find that. What you need to do is tailor it to what your needs are, what your skills are, where you are. But that's what you're looking at. Now, again, if we do the classic maths and times that by how many days a year I can work, we get some nice big numbers and it's all very exciting. But the investment that you need to put in is actually, I have overheads to pay for. I have business insurance I need to pay for. Somebody's got to pay for that website. Somebody's paying for the IT skills. Somebody's paying for Microsoft license. That doesn't come from corporate anymore. I have to fund that. There is also cash flow. And cash flow is king. So when we start our businesses up, you have to accept if you were going to start a safety consultancy, you need to be expecting that you probably won't earn anything for 6 months. Now, that is a really difficult position to be in. If you're freelancing, you could probably turn that around quicker and you could get a quicker payment in. But don't forget, when you've done the work, you invoice for the work and you can have up to 30-day on average payment terms for that work. There is a cash flow issue there. So even if on day one you went and got a job and you worked, great, you're going to wait a month before you get that payment come through, as with the others as well. Then you might have to chase for payment. So you need to be in a position where you're comfortable. You've got some savings, you put that aside, or you've got some guaranteed work before you got going, that you've got that cash flow ready to go. That is your biggest hurdle. Once you're over that initial big hurdle, then we flow. Now we know. Now we've got the cash flow. And there's a reason why we call it a cash flow for a reason. Money's coming in, money's going out, and that's okay. We're comfortable with that. If you're looking to start and you want to start big and hit the ground running, if you want to be an employer, you have to take that responsibility on. That is somebody else's livelihood, somebody else's mortgage that needs to be paid. You can't take people on if you know you can't pay them. So that investment at the beginning is huge. The other part then about the day rate is you will do a lot of work for free because networking, events, going out there, meeting, researching, CPDing yourself, that it will all come for free. So when we look at this big chunky day rate, don't get too excited about it because some of that time you have to share over the time you didn't work, you didn't earn. But there is some gains to be made out there. So that's all the different ways to be a safety consultant. Now, the key thing we were going to talk about is competency then. So what do I need to be a safety consultant? I'm interested. I think I could get over those hurdles. I'm still bought in. It sounds good. It sounds like what I want to do. I like meeting new people and I like learning new skills. Competence. There are different ways to be a safety consultant. So there's different ways to be competent to be a safety consultant. Now, we're in 50 years of the Health and Safety Work Act this year. We're all celebrating. It's great. It's a good time to reflect and look back. The safety department is not the police department anymore. I'm not sure it ever was, but we got a bad reputation for being that. That is not where we're at anymore. And IOSH have really reflected that. So those soft skills that you need, those influencing skills, the ability to risk prioritize. You need to be able to talk to the senior leader as much as you need to be able to talk to anybody else that works there on an equal playing field, no better, no worse. Those soft skills of influence, persuasion, influencing safe behavior are really, really key in any role, I think, but particularly in a safety consultancy role. Equally, though, I have different qualifications, competence, and capabilities to other safety consultants. I know safety consultants who have amazing technical capability. They have engineering, guarding of machinery, stuff I can't even describe, technical capability that's phenomenal. Great. That is their market. You don't have to have that in all the markets. I know others who are great with culture and behavior and really embedding leadership skills and getting that buy-in at senior management skills, but they haven't got the technical. Great. That's your market. So what I'd say is if you're looking at it, is find what you love. What are you naturally good at? What are the skills? What are the bits you enjoy? Because if you enjoy it and it comes naturally to you, go with that as your positive. Because it might be easy for you, but not for somebody else. So when we look at this wheel, and you'll all have access to this now via the IOSH if you're members of IOSH, you know, we go through our CPD journey and we should always be doing that. It's not we get to a certain level and stop. This is forevermore. We should always go round. So you're going to be assessing and planning, what do I need? Always open to learn, always keep learning, keep doing CPD, keep talking to others, go to webinars, go to talks, always learning, get experience. We record that and then we apply and reflect. And that apply and reflect is really a big bit that's, I think, has been a big push for IOSH recently, it's a big change. And it's about looking back and going, so what did I learn from that? What did I gain from that? Where do I need to go next? And that apply and reflect is key because if you've got a vision of where you want to get to, that's a unique vision to you. So we can do the e-learning that comes with IOSH. We could go to the same talk as each other, but did it get me on the path I needed to be that's different to somebody else? Now, this is just I have a very simplified version of it that I've used before when I've looked after check personnel and for myself as well, that we pulled together. And I show you this because this is just a basic spider chart. It's a really simplified version of it, right? But the idea being is the shape of that web is different for everybody. And therefore, that shape of that web needs to be different depending on the task that you've got to do. Is it engineering? Is it cultural change? You know, what is it that I'm trying to do? Depends on the industry you're in. You know, you can't just turn up to the oil and gas industry and go, I'll learn on the job. Let's see how we get on. You know, same with rail. There are specific industries that need certain skill sectors. There's certain projects that need it. And more importantly, there's certain teams. If I'm recruiting a team, I do not recruit me, point 2, point 3, point 4, because we don't have a successful team. If I'm recruiting a team, I'll look at the shape of my web and figure out where the gaps are. And then I'll recruit the team to go for that web. So equally, if you've been unsuccessful for roles before, or you went for a role with a consultancy and you didn't get it, it's not always because you weren't technically capable or you didn't have the right skill set. It's just we already had that in the team. We were looking for something different. So I think sometimes when you're in the the new market world, no different to me when I'm going forward for jobs. If I'm tendering for work, I might not get those jobs. And if I don't get those jobs, it's really hard not to take it personally, but you got to try not to. I'm not right for them right now. There was somebody that was better, a better fit for them, a better cost model for them. So you've got to keep that web in your head just so you can understand, right, where do I fit? Because there's not one version of being a safety person. Now, the other thing that IOSH offers, which is great, is mentors. And I definitely advocate this. I've had a few mentors. And I say a few because I think it's best to change them depending on where you are with your career. You know, keep moving them around. But the mentors are great because what they'll do is help you look at, well, where do you want to be? Okay, well, these are the kind of roles and careers that are out there. As there's not one version of being a safety consultant, there's not one version of being a health and safety professional. If we had 500 of us sitting in a room, we'd all have completely different backstories, completely different roles. There'd be some similarities, but we'd all have something different because that's what the market needs. So find a mentor, find somebody you trust, that you look to and think, oh, they're smashing it. Oh, I want to just have a conversation with them. How did they get there? Somebody can give you honest feedback. Do you know, actually, you think you're good, but you need to swat up on that. Or help you see past your own self-doubt. Actually, you don't think you're very good, but you're bloody brilliant at that. So a mentor is a really, really good person to help just look at your career path and see where you want to get to. So I will pass you now over to Laura, who will talk you through all things employment and recruitment and what we're looking for in the health and safety professional world. Laura, as they comes from HC Recruitment Network. I'm sure she'll introduce herself better than I do. But if there are any questions about safety consultancy, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll answer them in the end. But I'm sure Laura may continue the conversation on from there.
Lovely, thank you so much. Yeah, just while I'm getting the slide set up, Natalie, that was so good. You gave away so many industry secrets there. Really, really good. So I think what people don't always know is actually I spent 13 years recruiting freelance professionals. That was what I did. So to answer your question is how freelance consultants got work before LinkedIn. We picked up the phone non-stop. So actually when I joined, I had a Yellow Pages, literally, because that's how old I am, and I used to call through the Yellow Pages. Do you need someone? Do you need someone? Do you need someone? Luckily, you don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, so hi everyone. As Natalie said, I'm Laura. So I'm an associate director for HSE Recruitment and Executive Network Group, which is sort of the parent company for that. HSE Recruitment does what it says on the tin. It's health and safety recruitment. I've been there 14 years now. As I just mentioned, started out recruiting freelance safety professionals, moved into permanent, moved into managing the team. Now my role is literally just being client facing. So I get to go out and network, essentially, go out and chat to you all, learn what's going on, learn what you're interested in, and try and give back to the industry. That's kind of the aim here. So really excited to talk to you all today. Thank you so much for inviting me along. What I wanted to cover was kind of that more employer side. So at the moment in the market, what is it that employers want? You know, how do you stand out? It can be really, really competitive. This is focused probably a little bit more on the permanent side, but a lot of this stuff will apply to contract as well. Happy to answer questions on either side. So please do chuck things in the chat, or, you know, I'll answer as much as I possibly can towards the end. So starting off, what are some of the trends that we've been seeing across 2024? What are we expecting to see in 2025 in terms of what the market is crying out for? You know, so this is the sort of stuff that employers are asking us for day in, day out. Loved that Natalie mentioned the soft skills stuff, because yeah, that is huge. You know, it's been big for a number of years, but particularly now, if you're looking at manager roles or above, anything that's getting into that sort of more strategic, slightly more senior position, there is a real focus on hiring for soft skills rather than just your qualifications. So yeah, it used to be that you could get a manager role because you had a diploma and you were applying for a manufacturing company and you had manufacturing experience. Not so much now. What employers are asking us for those more senior positions, manager and up, is the soft skills side. So that can be anything from communication skills. That can be, how do you problem solve? How do you work within a team? How do you lead that team? This is what they're asking us for. So we're going out, we're talking to candidates, we're headhunting the candidates, and that's what we're trying to find out from them. Okay, brilliant. You've got the technical experience, you've got the qualifications, but are you the sort of leader that that client is looking for? It might be that a client is particularly looking to do some culture change or some psychological safety. So that's the kind of thing that they're really, really looking for. So a real big focus at that senior end on soft skills, but particularly these ones. So leadership, engagement, business continuity, culture change, and that psychological safety. That is a trend that's been coming for the last few years, and it's ramping up this year. It's definitely going to continue into 2025. I will give you a few tips on how to sell that sort of stuff as well in a little bit. So if you are a fantastic leader, how do you get that information across? Because I know that's not always the easiest for people. I think people don't like selling themselves, do they? So we'll give you some tips on that as well. If you're coming in at that more junior level, so if you're an advisor, a coordinator, or if you're just starting out in the marketplace, the focus is on experience. So again, a little bit different to what it was previously. Previously, the focus was on qualifications. Now, this is a slight change. It's still helpful for people to have the qualifications. Usually at that level, they do kind of want an IOSH certificate or something similar. But the emphasis we are getting from employers is they'd actually rather hire someone with just a bit of that hands-on experience. So that means emphasizing, if you are a complete newbie to the health and safety industry, that's emphasizing, okay, were you a health and safety rep? Did you sit on the committees? What have you learned through work? It's any little bit like that you can show, okay, I'm passionate about this, I'm engaged, and this is something that I really, really want to do. The reason there's been this slight shift from that junior side of the more entry level side is because it's a really, really tough market. There's been a lot of change in terms of salaries. There's been a lot of change in terms of demand. There's a cost of living crisis. There was a recession that we went through, and all of this meant that actually candidates were quite hard to find for employers. They weren't finding the right people. So what that means is they've now opened their minds a little bit. They've been less strict on, okay, I can only take someone who's had 2 years experience and they've got an IOSH certificate. Now they're willing to hire a little bit more on potential and look at, okay, well, what can we use from their background that's relevant to what we do? So again, we'll teach you a little bit about how to emphasize all this stuff so that you stand out, but that's the real focus that we're seeing coming through at that more junior level. And another trend actually that we're really seeing at the moment is that increased focus on the safety system side of it. So we've always looked for people with safety systems experience. There's always been some clients that need it more than other. This year, that has sort of spiraled out of control, the demand for the safety systems knowledge. I'm not sure why. It's the honest truth there. Sometimes we don't know where these trends come from, but this is a huge trend at the moment. Clients, I think, are really, really focused on compliance and making sure that they have those systems that are robust, that work really, really well for them, and what they need to do, where they need to go within the business. If I'm guessing and throwing around some ideas as to why this has happened, I would suspect, and sorry to bring up the COVID, but I would suspect this is very much to do with COVID. What happened is people really realized how reliant they were on health and safety, how much they needed them, and how much that compliance really, really mattered. And I think that in turn has now led into, okay, well, let's make sure our safety systems are fit for purpose. Let's make sure we can get them accredited. Let's make sure we're staying on top of that continuous improvement. So that's another trend that we've seen. So lots going on in the market. There's lots of jobs out there. Let's be clear, it's a good time to be looking for work, but it is competitive. There's a lot of good people out there, and it's about selling yourself in the right way to employers and to recruitment agencies. So like I said, it's making sure that whatever level you're at, whatever role you're applying for, you know what they're looking for and giving that to them. So how do you do that? Is the $1 million question. So what I thought I'd do here is just have a little look at, what's the sort of stuff that's missing in the market at the moment? What is the stuff that employers are crying out for? What cannot they get? And how do you demonstrate that you've got it so that you stand out? So we've got problems, and then we've got some benefits to you from those problems. So problem number one at the moment is advert response for from CVs. The CV quality is actually quite poor at the moment. Again, like I said, that's kind of tied into that cost of living crisis, the recession thing. People are reticent to move at the moment. They're not necessarily putting their CV out places. So the quality that people are getting through in terms of just sheer numbers is not the same as it was 2-3 years ago. In terms of people applying with the right experience is not the same. And like we said, those sorts of soft skills and bits like that, that's what people are missing usually. They'll get people apply that, okay, maybe have got 10 years experience in health and safety and manufacturing, but they're missing that leadership, they're missing that engagement. That's not coming through on the CVs. A few years ago, we could put an advert out for a safety advisor, a safety manager, and you would get something in the region of 300-400 applications for those. At the moment, clients, employers, recruitment agencies, we're not getting that. You're probably getting 20, and those 20, maybe 1 or 2 are probably right for it. So you need to make sure that you are the 1 or 2 that stands out, and that you are giving yourself the best opportunity for someone to pick up the phone to you. So how do you do that? So the benefit of having this poor quality at the moment is that if you have a really well-written and relevant application, you're going to be that 1 or 2 that stands out. You're going to be the ones that someone immediately picks the phone up to. So some simple tips here that a lot of people don't know, that a lot of people, I think, just forget when they're looking for jobs, is a job hunt is basically a full-time job in itself. It's not as simple as I've seen something that I like, let me throw my CV forward for it and let's see what happens. If that's what you're doing and just sending the same sort of generic CV out to jobs without really thinking about who the company are, without really thinking about whether you want to work for them, and without tailoring your CV so that you are selling yourself in the best way, you won't get called. You'll be one of those advert responses that people think, oh, they're just not right. Why are we not getting the right people? So what we recommend that everybody does is any role that you apply for, you send a different CV. Now, that doesn't mean lie. We're not telling you to change your CV and tell us things that you haven't done, but it's adapting your experience to make it relevant for who that client is, for who that employer is. So, Natalie was talking about the spider web, right, and where the skills lie. It's looking at, okay, so what is it that's important to this client? Is it they really want someone to come in and develop and implement a safety system and get it accredited? If so, I'm going to make sure all my safety systems experience is front and center at that CV. Is it that they want someone to come through and do a culture change program and take us on a journey? Then what I'm going to do is on my CV, I'm going to tell them stories of when I've done that previously. So for this client, this is where we were. This is how I changed things. This is how we ended up. It's just making sure that you are selling yourself in the best way. And a generic CV will never, ever, ever do that. A really easy tip for this is if you think that whether you're applying to a recruitment agency or a HR person or direct to a health and safety person, whatever it is, they've probably got 60 seconds to have a quick look at your CV and decide whether it's worth them investing more time in it. So you need to make sure that everything that they want to see smacks them in the face the second they open that CV. So take your job specification and make sure that it's mirrored in the CV. So if they say, we are looking to develop and implement a safety management system, put, I have developed and implemented safety management systems. Make it that obvious. Imagine they're a little bit dumb, right? Make it as simple as that. The honest truth as well is if you're not applying through a recruitment agency like us who knows health and safety, or you're not applying to a health and safety director, most times when you're applying to an employer, it's a HR person that reads that CV and they don't really know what safety people do. They don't understand it. So they will be looking for keywords. They'll be like, okay, well, the client, or the safety director in my company said they need the safety systems. This person doesn't say safety systems on their CV. That's it. And then the CV will go in the reject pile. So just try and mirror that job specification and take into account who the client is as well. So again, if the client is someone who is a manufacturing company that's really, really keen on continuous improvement, that's one of their missions is to focus on that, then make sure that's in there. Let's bring the values in. Let's bring in who they are, because employers want to know you're not just looking for any job. You've applied because you want to work with them. So if you do that, you mirror the CV to the spec, you make it obvious so that they can see the information in the first 60 seconds, and you bring in the company values to it, they're going to call you. Guaranteed. They will call you. No, it sounds like a lot. I know it sounds like a lot. And that's why we say it can be a full-time job hunting. But for me, it's absolutely worth it to put the time in for this, because otherwise you're just sending a generic CV out there, no one's ever going to call you. But spending half an hour tailoring the CV could be the difference between that phone call and not getting that phone call. So one of the other issues we've got at the moment in the marketplace is, because that advert response is low, because the CV quality isn't good enough for most employers, they're having to use a safety recruitment agency, or they're having to use a headhunter. And what that means is, headhunt is just, it's kind of an old term now, actually, that most people don't use, but it means we go out and we find the people for them. So this may be people that aren't looking for jobs, that aren't applying for things, but are the right person for them, for this client. And that's what we do. We go and hunt them down. So that's a major problem at the moment. They're having to reach out and use these old school methods and work with agencies. But that's a real benefit for you, because don't just apply for roles. Make yourself super easy to find and super easy to headhunt. There's loads of ways you can do this. One way is with your social media presence. I'm a big advocate for building a brand on social media. I have been talking about this for years. It has never been more important to make sure you're looking at this. What I mean by that is you don't have to be the next TikTok star. It's not that, but it's going on LinkedIn and making sure that professional profile reflects the stuff that you want to sell. Again, it's not just a list of qualifications. It's not just a list of places you've worked. It's the things you're really good at, the things you're really passionate about, the stuff that you want them to know. And then it's going out and engaging with other people on LinkedIn. So exactly like Natalie said about winning business as a consultant, this is about networking and making connections. And what will happen is, you might engage with someone on LinkedIn, another safety professional, on a post about, some piece of legislation that's coming through or some event that's going on, and they'll remember it and they'll recommend you to someone, or a headhunter will see you comment on it and think, oh, that person's interesting, I like what they're talking about, and people will start coming to you. So that personal branding, that's selling yourself on LinkedIn in a professional way, is super important. For those that don't like social media, I get it. I don't force people to do social media, because the big thing with social media is if it's not genuine, you can tell. But there's other things you can do. So these IOSH branch meetings are a perfect way of making yourself known. Good people go to these meetings. So you could go along to a branch meeting, you network, you connect with people, you have conversations, you ask interesting points. And there may be a safety recruiter in the room. There may be a safety director who's looking for someone for their team. That, again, you're making those connections. So people are going to reach out to you. And if you're doing that stuff, again, you are standing out. You are, the one of the few that are really putting their head above the parapet. And that's a bonus. Like we said, it's hard work tailoring your CV for all these different jobs. So if someone can call you with the right thing, that's the dream. So absolutely make sure you are making yourself stand out. Problem at the moment, salary expectations are quite misaligned within the industry. So again, sorry to mention COVID again, but that had such an impact on health and safety salaries, on salaries in lots of industries, but very much in health and safety. Again, because they were so committed to safety during that time, they understood the importance of it. They could not let their safety people get away. Lots of people got pay rises. They bolstered teams. They brought new people in, and the salary increase. So we've got some remuneration reports that we can send out if anyone wants the actual data. But the salary increases over the last 3 years have been crazy, absolutely crazy. The problem with that now is we've kind of hit a wall with how far salaries can go at the lower end. Not necessarily the upper end, but the advisors, the coordinators, even some of the lower managers, we're kind of stuck with where they can go, because what's happening now is advisors are coming in and their salaries are almost the same as the managers that are employing them, and that makes employers nervous. Putting two people at different levels on very similar salaries, even if they're a grand or two apart, that makes people very nervous. So that's a big problem. We've got clients coming to us and they want to hire someone on a salary that they could have got someone for 4 years ago because that was the last time they hired for that position, and we've got to advise them that that's not going to happen anymore. The salaries have got to change. But the real benefit here is, again, clients are now being way more open on who they will take for roles because they can't necessarily get the exact thing they had in mind, because the exact thing they had in mind now gets paid 10 grand more than they did 4 years ago. They are open to suggestions. So we find a lot of the clients we work with, a lot of employers out there at the moment say they're hiring for a manager. And of course, really, they'd like a manager who's done diploma, who's been a man manager previously. But what they're open to now is a really good senior advisor who's working towards their diploma and who can show them that they've got those soft skills to be a great man manager. That's huge at the moment. So when you're looking at roles, don't necessarily rule yourself out if you don't hit 100% of the criteria, but look, how can you develop into that position? What can you add that could be a benefit to them? Because clients are really, really looking for that at the moment. They're looking for ways around this salary problem. And another problem we're really finding, a lot of clients, a lot of employers at the moment are saying to us that people don't prep for interviews anymore because the people that are active on the marketplace, they're probably interviewing with 4 or 5 different people, so they're not as prepared for an interview as they previously would have been. That is a problem because what it says to the employer is, I don't really care which job I get. I just want a job. I don't want to work with you. And employers want people, like we said, that are passionate, that really, really care, and that are driven and want to work for them specifically. So what will absolutely make you stand out is making sure that you are researching the company. This is when you're applying and this is when you're interviewing. So why do you want to work for them, not why do you want a new role? So it could be that you're passionate about working with a company that puts safety first, that it's number one priority for them. And you can see that this company has got health and safety all over their website. It's all over their social media. It's the main thing they talk about. That's great. You can bring that into the interview and say, I've seen this. This is why I love it, because that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. So look at them. Who are they? What do they stand for? And to be honest, this isn't even just about getting the role. This is about making sure you're in a role that you want to do and not just one that you're getting through for the next few years. You yourself in a company where the values really, really align with who you are and your mission in health and safety, that's going to mean you're going to want to stay there longer. You're going to be happy in your workplace. You're going to feel fulfilled in your workplace, and you're going to be doing a much, much better role. We could actually talk about this for hours and hours. There's loads and loads of stuff that we can talk about. I'm quite happy to continue some conversations offline, or like we said, continue in the chats. But as a bit of a summary, some very simple things will make you stand out at the moment. Like we said, the trends are senior level to go more soft skill focused, junior or entry level more experience focused. So remember that, and when you're applying for things, tailor your CVs for that, tailor them to the company, add in the company values, make sure the information hits them in the face, make yourself visible on social media, make yourself visible at IOSH branch meetings, make sure people can find you if they've got the perfect job for you. Don't be put off if you don't hit 100% of the criteria. Go out there, apply for things, tell them why you can do that role, why you can develop, why you're the person that they should hire, and do your research. Those are the simplest points for you to take away from this today. And yeah, thank you very much. Always happy to chat, like I said. So some ways you can reach me: you can email me, you can hit us up on the Instagram, or you can find me on LinkedIn, where I am there pretty much 24 hours a day, Natalie.
That was fantastic, Laura. Thank you so much. There's some really, really good tidbits in there. I would like to advocate for bringing back the old-fashioned cover letter. So back in my day, we had to write a cover letter.
Yeah.
Why do you think you'd be good for the job? Why do you want this job? Why do you think your CV applies?
Yeah.
And I've been surprised that when I've recruited for teams in the last couple of years, there's no cover letters anymore. It's really
They
hard.
really sound a fashion, yeah. And to be honest, I was probably one of the people that said they weren't necessary years ago, because they weren't. 6, 7 years ago, they fell out of fashion. We didn't need them. Now, if someone sends me a cover letter telling me why they're good for the job, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah,
absolutely, completely agree.
I think it's just like you say, showing that passion, showing that enthusiasm for the role, showing that
Mhm.
you want that job, not a job. I thought that was a really
Exactly.
good phrase that you put in there to go through. The other thing I was going to ask you then as well was about, we mentioned about the advisor and going in for a lower role. And actually that going for a diploma, are employers willing to kind of pay for that? Is that something you can kind of almost build into your package instead of a
Absolutely.
wage?
Yeah, that's something we're seeing a lot more because they are so more open on hiring for potential.
Mm.
They're willing to develop that potential as well because they don't want to go through this process in another 3 years.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
absolutely want you to come in and they want you to stay. They are really, really seeing people as a benefit now rather than a bum in a seat. So
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. If that's something that you want to do, I would bring it up at interview. I think they see it as a good thing. They see that you want to develop, that you want to work, and you want to develop with them. So
Yeah.
100%.
Because I think diploma's been one of those controversial things. Like, do you have to have a diploma to be a safety person,
Yeah.
or can you not and do it with experience? And I'd say, as an employer, I've recruited people before. I have been a bit open. If you've
Yeah.
got a killer work-life background with
Mhm.
massive of experience, but you just never went and got the certificate, but you can demonstrate you're competent, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
But it is an easier option if you can just CV go through NEBOSH diploma tick, put the
Yeah.
CV forward. So I
Yeah.
think if you're going for a role that doesn't you don't have the diploma, go for it still. I don't
Mhm.
go with it, but tell me why you've got that experience
Exactly
and
right.
and your passion for it, and I'll take that as well. So. Fab. We've had some questions coming through in the chat, so thank you. And please do feel free to add in more questions now if anything popped to your mind. We've had a question through, so thank you for this, which is about when you get a client to agree to use you to work as a freelance consultant, should you or would you have a contract in place?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that or shall I? I've got,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, we'll both have a part of it, Laura. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say yes. In my short answer, yes, you want a contract. But what do I mean by contract is probably the more important question. So when we think contract, we think of some long legal Latin-filled 72-page contract documentation that nobody really understands and it has a load of old English. But that you don't need. But what you do need, though, and I'd always advise to do it with clients anyway, is to have an understanding of expectations. Because sometimes we go forward and go, oh, yeah, yeah, well, they want me. They want me to do this, and I'm going to do that for them. And actually, sometimes they can miss a line. So
Mhm.
running through the terms and conditions is a really good way of going, okay, so to be clear, I'm going to deliver this. But in order to deliver that, I'm going to need access to your people, management time, access to your documentation, whatever it be. But also there's things like payment terms.
Yeah.
So how long are you going to pay me? Are you going to pay me the second in advance? Are you going to pay me in arrears? Are you paying me within 14 days, 7, 30? What does it mean? So you definitely want a contract. In terms of getting that contract, don't panic about it. There are lots of different versions. My top tips would be phone somebody who's already doing it. Phone somebody else, a consultancy business, and go, hey, I'd love a leg up. Don't suppose you can help. Do you have anything like this? Or there's organizations like the Federation of Small Businesses. And if you join that, they've already got pre-developed template documentation that you can use and just make it fit for your work. So that would be my kind of two top tips.
Yeah.
Laura Bell, what about you?
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, don't do anything with that contract. Is the short answer. A slightly longer answer, there's, like you said, there's nuances to it. If you are a business owner, yeah, you're going to have to get your head around this. You're going to have to
Mhm.
reach out and potentially get some help. If you are freelance, there are some slightly easier ways of doing it. So if you're a freelance consultant, you can use something that's called an umbrella company that will
Mhm.
basically act as a limited company for you. They will sort your contracts out. They will look at all of this. Umbrella companies will also help you set up limited companies. And
Mhm.
again, they will help you with contracts and things like that. So that's sometimes a little bit easier if you're freelance. Or again, if you're freelance, you can work through a recruitment agency and we would absolutely give you a contract. We wouldn't let you start without a contract. So, but yeah, don't do anything without a contract.
I think we've made that clear enough now.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. But great question, because these are the ones that I think we need to push through. Some great comments in the chat as well about the importance of ISO. And we've got Becky Ray from Culture Kick offering some great services there on culture change stuff as well. It's a free webinar or workshop if anybody's interested in that. And also then we've got a question for Laura. Laura, do employers ask to find candidates that fit the company cultures these days?
Yeah,
Great question.
absolutely. Yeah. So that's, I would say, 99% of what we do as a recruitment agency. So if a client, sorry, if an employer just wants to find a technical fit, that's fairly easy. They can go to anyone for that. They don't need a safety recruitment agency. They can use a high street agency. They can probably do it themselves. The culture fit is where we come in. So that's usually why they call us. So what we do is we do a full brief with an employer at the start, and we ask them, okay, so where is the company going? What are the values? What are the missions? What is the team culture like? What sort of person fits? How do you like people to work? How do you want people to interact with safety? All of that sort of stuff. And then we go and interview people based around those skills. So if you get a call from ourselves, for example, you'll often find we do things a little bit backwards, probably to what you would expect. We won't call you and say, "Hey, look, I've got a great job for you. It's paying this much. It's in this area. Are you interested?" We'll call you up and say, "Look, I know you're potentially looking for something. Can you remind me, how is it that you work? What would you do in this situation? What sort of values do you want from a company that you're going to join?" And we'll get all of that stuff out of you. And then if it matches, we'll tell you about the role. And the reason we do it that way is because you'll be happier. You're gonna go forward for a role that you actually want, rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, put me forward and we'll see what happens." You're gonna find the right fit for you. So yeah, culture is huge.
But also, how bad would that be if you went, I've got the dream role for you, then you have a conversation, you go, nah, actually, you're not right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's good to
no,
get that
not
out
at
of the way
all what I
first.
want. Yeah.
Manage your expectations. We've got a great question here about just relocated to the UK, and several HC roles require a UK driving license. This is the kind of limitation, as it takes 6 months for someone to be in the UK before they can do a driving license. This is another limitation to this consideration of the health and safety advisory roles. And I think, yeah, I have seen that a lot. And I've required it a lot, a driving license. I need you to be on multiple sites. Can you get here, there, and everywhere?
Yeah.
I'd probably echo that that's similar to the NEBOSH diploma. If you can go into somewhere and go, look, I'm working towards it. So if you can bear with us,
Yeah.
I imagine if you're passionate, you've got the right skills, employers would take that. Would you agree, Laura?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, thank you for the question. You're not wrong. It is a limitation. It does make things difficult. I don't drive myself, so I'm fully aware of how difficult this makes things. But yeah, if you're with the right employer, they should be able to help you develop that sort of stuff. So a good example is where I work now for HC recruitment. A few years ago, I was looking for a promotion into a senior role. At that time, a senior role, you had to have a driving license. I didn't have one, but because they were willing to develop in me, they helped me out with driving lessons. Unfortunately, I was a terrible driver, so I am not allowed on the roads. But then the company changes; they don't need me to do that anymore. But yeah, if they're the right company, they will help you develop. But unfortunately, yeah, when you are relocating, there are more limitations. It is really, really tough. The only thing I can say is, like we said, in the market at the moment, it's hard for them to find the right people, the right culture fit. So just emphasize all the stuff you can do as much as possible, because if you are the right person, 99% the right person, and the driving is the last little thing, they'll work it out for you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Question coming through then for about client bases. So I mentioned about building a client base. As somebody working as an employed safety professional, what advice would you give someone considering creating their own SME or making the jump to business owner? Specifically, how would you build that client base? My advice would be start building your brand of safety. Start building start building those connections, start the networking before you make the leap. So you can stay in your employed role, and most networking events, most getting to know you events are out of hours. So most of the networking I go to is 7 in the morning. It's an early start, but we're all up. 7 a.m., get out there, go meet some networking groups. Then you can go and continue your employed role. Or come to an IOSH branch meeting. Come to somewhere in the IOSH. Sometimes they're in the evening, not always in the day. So start building those connections, start asking, start letting people know that you're out there. Because I think sometimes we're all, and I was guilty of this at the beginning, is I've decided I'm ready. Why is no one knocking on my door? And you go,
Yeah.
because nobody knows you're ready because you haven't told them. Now, I know that's difficult when you're employed because you can't start going, hey, everyone, I'm available for work. And I haven't told my employer I'm leaving yet. But I would definitely start building that brand, start having those conversations, and really start thinking about who do you want to work with? Because the biggest benefit of being a consultant is you get to choose yes as much as they get to choose yes. It's like dating. You know, if you go there and you go, we're not going to see eye to eye. We're not going to connect. You know, I'd love to do some stuff. We want different things. They're not a good fit for you. But if you can start, you know, having those chats, conversations, most people want to talk to you about their business. So if
Mhm.
you've got an idea of somebody you'd like to work with, just approach them while you're employed and say, look, I'd love to know more about your business. Like, would you be, if I made the leap, would you be willing and sometimes people will go, yeah, oh yeah, second you're available, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So definitely build that brand up, make it easy for people to find you, like you said, Laura.
Mhm.
Have those quiet conversations. They could then go and look you up and see what you're about. And then you kind of build up that so that when you do take the leap, people are ready to listen.
Yeah. And I think as well the thing you said about you don't necessarily have to set up your own business straight away. You can do the freelance
Yeah.
is great. And if you are looking to dip a toe in, yeah, you start making those connections, you start building that brand. When you are ready to dip a toe in and leave your company, loads of agencies will have freelance work for you, and that's a really easy way to start it going. The personal brand stuff is huge. You know how much I love
Yeah.
personal brand stuff. I'm fairly certain if you go back through the IOSH archives, I've spoken about this topic for IOSH branch meetings previously, so you will find this somewhere. But yeah, people have to be able to find you. Like I said at the start, it's not like the old days where I used to have a yellow pages and ring through and just be like, do you need anyone? Do you need anyone? But there are still ways of doing that, which is connecting, chatting, just having those open conversations. Talk to everyone, basically. Yeah.
Audience stuff. Well, we're at time there, guys. So I just wanted to share the final just little bits and just remind you of what's going on. And thank you to all of those of you that have tuned in for us. It's been a really great session. Hopefully, you've had your questions answered. Thank you to Laura for coming on. You do great keynote talking. I've seen you elsewhere and you've smashed it as I thought you would. So thank you for joining us today. Our next branch meeting is 20th of June. We're going to be talking about asbestos, and we've got some good demos. You know, we're going to get somebody in the full PPE and a pod and everything. It's going to be exciting. So if you can come down, do it there. Again, a great opportunity to network. There's tea and coffee. We can chat and meet each other. And if you've got any questions, you know, myself and the rest of the committee will be there. Feel free to come and find us and ask a question. Tickets are still available on there as well. And again, a big, big thank you to all of you who joined on this evening. And do keep in contact. I'd love to hear from you all. Thank you.